This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been sponsored in part by Irving Cliff Brewery. If you're in Northeast Pennsylvania and you're looking for some of the finest craft beer around, look no further than the Irving Cliff Brewery, located at 2 Chapel Street in lovely historic Honesdale. With an attention to detail that feels high-end and small-town comfort, Irving Cliff Brewery does beer, and they do it very, very well. Irving Cliff Brewery, 2 Chapel Street, Honesdale, PA 18431. Now on to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the Coarse Grind Podcast, episode number 29, 1 year shy of 30, just enough time to be depressed about turning 30, like I did. I guess nobody else did that. So anyway, I am your host, Sean Rossler, creator, host, everything with regards to this Coarse Grind Podcast. Welcome back. So nice of you to come back. Thank you for showing up. You know, when your area has as many culinary renaissances, which I believe is a word, don't quote me on that, going on as ours does, and when I say our area, you could pretty much make a radius out an hour and a half in any direction, and we're doing cool things. It's awesome. But it's really hard to focus attention anywhere else but your immediate surrounding area, and that's a good thing. You know, taking a trip just a mere 10 minutes outside of our immediate vicinity landed tonight's guest, and for episode 29, and for one as young as he is, his resume is certainly fully populated. Tonight's guest started his career as a prep cook and dishwasher in his hometown of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania, which is pronounced Mount Carmel, just in case you were wondering if you're from there. He attended Mount Carmel Area High School and studied culinary arts at the Northumberland County Career and Technological Center. After graduating in 2009, Steve moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to further expand his culinary knowledge. Immediately after arriving in Pittsburgh, our guest accepted an apprenticeship at the prestigious Nemacolin Woodlands Resort and Spa just outside of Pittsburgh. While at Nemacolin, he worked at many of their different restaurants, venues, ranging from five-star fine dining to pub fare. He attended Westmoreland County Community College, studying hospitality management and culinary arts in accreditation with the apprenticeship program at Nemacolin. In 2010, our guest attended Le Cordon Bleu Culinary Institute to complete his education. After receiving an associate's degree in culinary arts in 2011, he returned to Northeast Pennsylvania to become sous chef of Eagle Rock Resort. While at Eagle Rock, he worked closely with property owners to reinvent the idea of ski slope dining. In 2013, Topstar Catering was born, servicing the northeastern part of Pennsylvania. In late 2014, our guest was approached by a local business owner to take on the position of Chef De Cuisine at a new up-and-coming Danville restaurant, starting his journey there by joining the team of Elizabeth's American Bistro and E Tu Bistro to create Mediterranean-inspired foods using fresh and local ingredients. He resides in Danville, Pennsylvania with his husband and is currently Chef De Cuisine at E Tu Bistro, with plans of imparting his culinary knowledge to create traditional Mediterranean cuisine with his team. So I'm tired of reading his bio, I'm going to be honest, and he's lived it. So would you believe that beyond that there's even more to the story? I find it hard to believe, but I can't wait to hear more about it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guest this evening, Chef De Cuisine of E Tu Bistro. It's pronounced E Tu, people, not E Tu. It's E Tu. In historic Danville, Pennsylvania, the one, the only Chef Steven Neumeister. Chef, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great.
Awesome. Yeah, just to get that out of the way, as a former English teacher, you know, we get embroiled in Latin, and I want to clear something up because local people, local episodes always do really well. So if you are listening and you are planning on going here, you're planning on talking about it, thinking about it, it is E Tu Bistro. If it was E Tu Bistro, it would be Mexican food, okay? It would be Y-T-U Bistro, and it would be Mexican or Spanish fare, okay? It is E Tu Bistro. Am I correct, Chef?
Yes, that is how you pronounce it.
Thank God. People listen, know it, learn it, okay? Soapbox aside, Chef, thank you so much for finding the time to do the show with us this evening.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
Right on. So for folks tuning in the first time, Chef, for you, and for anybody really, brief explanation of the format of the show. We have starters, mains, and afters. Starters is to get a historical aspect on the guest. Mains is where they're at and where they're going. And finally, afters, a bit more out of the box, creative thought process behind the questions. No one's been injured yet in 29 episodes, and I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. So without further ado, Chef Neumeister, tell me about what and where you grew up eating.
Well, I grew up in the small town of Mount Carmel, which is, as a lot of people know, in the heart of the coal region, which is not really a popular destination in this area.
Right. And it is by the locals pronounced Mount Carmel, correct?
Yes, it is, but I try not to say it so I don't show my true colors.
Excellent. Very well done, sir. Continue, please.
So growing up over there, my family actually my grandparents own a small farm towards Ashland, which is even deeper into the coal country. So I would help them a lot on the farm, and I also was a bit of an avid hunter in my earlier years. So a lot of the food that I grew up eating was literally farm to table, went and picked it yourself, and a lot of the game that we hunted was usually a lot of our dinners.
Now, when you say you were hunting, what exactly were your catches, if you will? Were you deer hunter, small game?
My favorite actually was small game, but I did do also deer hunting. I never went after the bigger stuff like bears or moose or anything like that, but venison was definitely a popular dish in my family.
Awesome. So you were basically the hipster of farm to table. You were doing it long before it was cool.
Yeah, long before I even knew what it was.
Exactly. Long before hipsters even invented. Can you imagine such a time? So, anyway, yeah. I digress. Were you a picky eater? What was your favorite fare, if you will?
I wouldn't say I was a picky eater. We didn't have anything really, I don't want to say fancy, but it was pretty standard. Some nights included mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese with whatever you were eating. Usually a very well done piece of meat, unfortunately. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was picky at all. It depended. I wouldn't go hungry, let's put it that way, because I ate what was put in front of me.
Right on. And that's really kind of a common theme two ways here in the area. And I grew up in Houghtonsdale. It's an hour and a half north and to the east, but at the same time, there's a lot of go-betweens. The one is that you always had the overdone piece of meat, the starch, and the overdone veg.
Yep.
And at the same time, you kept your mouth shut. You put your face the fuck down and ate it.
Yeah.
You didn't go hungry like you said. So a lot of similarities there, it seems. Are there any foods that you think about looking back to that childhood that you miss almost painfully? Are there any foods that you can't go back to that you wish you could?
I don't think so. Going back, I don't think there's anything I can't replicate to this day that I'd want.
Well, and that's the part two of the question. Now, are there foods that give you that feeling that you go to great lengths at times to replicate today?
I really, really wish I could replicate some of my grandmother's cooking, because some of that stuff takes me back. Her strawberry rhubarb pies, I bet you $1 they're the best in the area.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it, and I wouldn't doubt every grandson in the area would say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And yet that seems to be perhaps not as regional as some of the coal region stuff, but strawberry rhubarb pie, if you want to see somebody with a weird look on their face, drive an hour or two out of state and see how people respond to that.
Just some people, just to say what rhubarb is, they're like, oh, that colorful thing that looks like a weed coming out of the ground.
Yeah. I'm all over that. What are you talking about? So strawberry rhubarb pie for one. Any others?
Well, I can distinctly remember, along with the hunting, I used to fish with my grandfather, and my grandmother what trout we would catch, my grandmother would sear them in her cast iron skillet that probably is still not clean to this day.
I was just going to say, break my heart and tell me what kind of pan and if it's cleaned.
No, it's probably still sitting there with a 1/4 inch of grease in the bottom of it.
And it tastes every bit the better for it.
It was amazing. Crispy on the outside, perfect on the inside.
Holy shit. That is almost pornography on a podcast right there. That's fantastic. Next question, I almost don't even have to ask it now because I can kind of vibe, but maybe I'm wrong. Who is your greatest culinary influence growing up?
Well, my grandmother definitely had a strong baking influence on me, and I'm not a baker this day. It just never stuck with me. I can always remember helping her cook. My dad also helped me bake a lot and cook. I can honestly say, since I was probably 13 or 14, I did most of the cooking in my family.
Wow.
So it was. I didn't really get a lot of inspiration until maybe later in my teenage years when I went to the votech school, the technical institute. The culinary instructor there, James Schiavone is his name. He's a fantastic guy, and I can give him probably almost every ounce of credit for my culinary career to this day.
James, if you're listening right now, I will vouch for this kid. I will vouch for this kid hands down. I've been there. I've seen it. Amazing job. Well done. Well done. So, Grandma, we got James. Anybody else on the influence?
My dad would probably say Emeril Lagasse because he tells me that's all I used to watch when I was younger, but I don't know about that.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. You know what's funny? I can kind of use history here to draw inferences now, and if there has been a common thread between guests, and I mean these are people, everybody from a cheesemaker in Honesdale to beer makers to everybody had that similar story of, well, what did you do when you grew up? Well, you know what? I wasn't the normal kid. I watched cooking shows. I watched Jeff Smith, The Frugal Gourmet on PBS. Yan Can Cook, all that very PBS influenced stuff. Now, for your generation, because you're clearly younger than I, but that's okay. I don't hold a grudge much. Food Network came to be, and that was kind of the new gateway drug for it. And so, I mean, while I'm sure that might be a parental exaggeration that it's all you watched, I mean, it's undeniable. The guy is fucking amazing. He's got a magnetic personality to him, and it worked.
Yep.
For sure.
There was times where my dad he'll swear to this day I said "bam" every 10 minutes, but I don't know about that either. I won't admit it.
No, no need to here. We'll just do a follow-up investigation and see if it's true. All right. So you obviously have the backdrop behind a culinary career. You have all this cool influence. You have this, very unique small town yet strong backing culinarily. When was the moment that you looked at food as being more than just on a plate, in the mouth, energy, and done? When was it you realized it's something you wanted to do, not just wanted to consume?
I can remember that day crystal clear. It was actually one of the days where I first learned you could eat tuna when it was still practically raw.
Yes.
I was in the Technical Institute over in Northumberland County, and we had done an in-class competition between the students to see, just for fun, to see who could get the better dish. And my competition had pan-seared a tuna steak, and I just remember watching him plate it as I'm trying to plate my own stuff, being very distracted. And it was just so beautifully plated that you could just, it was amazing. And then when we got to taste it, it was even twice as amazing. And that it just clicked. Like, if you can do this, what else is out there?
Right. Exactly. You bring up something important that I really want to touch on here, and it's that the concept of the votech. Now, not everybody's going to be familiar with that. So can you explain that?
Yeah, well, when I was in school, I guess it would have been my freshman year, I had the opportunity to either continue general education classes at what we called the home school, which was the high school at the time, or you could take half of your day and choose to go to the votech, which you could choose. There were a line of different careers paths that you could choose. There was a medical, there was cosmetology, carpentry, electrical, and culinary, of course. And you could do that for half of your day instead of going and sitting in, say, a boring math class. Do something that you're passionate about and hopefully get something out of it.
Right on. And back then, I can speak to a certain extent for my schooling experience. Was that the popular option or the less popular option for people to pick?
Well, it was popular among some people because some people took it as a joke. Oh, I don't have to sit through that boring math class. I can go do something else. And then you got the other half of the people that were like, yeah, this is a really good option, and this is what I want to do.
Right on.
And let's not sit through that math class, but go ahead and do that.
Right.
So I would say it was definitely very popular. I wouldn't say, I think my graduating class was maybe around 200. I'd say maybe 30 people were interested in it.
Yeah, and conceptually, I think you're going to see the votech option spring to the forefront in the next 5 years. This has been a topic in e-learning and education and everything that we've talked about at length, because the college degree itself, the whole, I'm going to go and study English. What are you going to do? I'm going to spend 8 years studying Greek mythology. The world is flooded with shit like that right now. And that's no disrespect to Greek mythology. I love it, but it can't wire a fuse box.
No,
it
yes,
certainly
definitely
can't work service for an evening.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
have
mean?
a friend, actually. Yes, I have a friend who has a master's degree in medieval Russian literature.
Holy shit.
I looked at him one day, I said, what do you do with that? Like, it's medieval, so nothing's around anymore.
Exactly.
And it's literature. I mean, you read a book, is that it?
It's there's this sad part of it and there's this funny part of it, but the truth of it is going to be that these more trade hands-on based options are going to literally become the competitive job market that, say, English Lit was 15 years ago. Guaranteed. And that votech option, you mark my words, you watch the next 5 years, this is going to blow up. And it's due in part to the Emeralds and to the Jeff Smiths and to the, Martin Yans, all these people. It's helping to show, like, a hands-on trade is, in certain ways, way more valuable than, sorry to your friend, medieval Russian literature. I don't know what to do with that, So, no, it's a really cool option, and it's one, actually, in 29 episodes we've never touched on, and I've kind of been surprised that the concept of the votech wasn't really brought up. So, definitely watch for that. I think that's going to be on the horizon soon. Maybe you can go back and teach.
Yeah. I was actually approached a little while ago to start teaching a night class at Penn College.
Oh my God, do it.
One of my friends is currently a teacher there, and they had said that they're going to be leaving and they need a position filled. I'm not quite sure about it because, I mean, I am young myself, so I don't know how people would take it.
Trust me. If you go in, you've got the chops to do it. I was the dean of students for McCann and Sunbury when I was 26. So if you know your shit, go in and do it, please. Absolutely, hands down, do it. I think a lot of kids could definitely benefit from experience such as yours. Wow, so we've turned this into a commercial for trade schools. Moving on. So you had that moment, that seared tuna, and tuna is such a wonderful thing to be that gateway. Whether it's in sushi, whether it's seared, I think it's when you have that you realize, one, it doesn't have to be red or white. It can be fish. And two, it can be done, brilliantly. So seared tuna, almost raw, votech, and we fast forward to where you are today at E Tu Bistro. Where would you say you draw your culinary inspiration from today?
Well, I do get to do a lot of reading. I sit here and I look at my bookshelf. It's got at least 200 books on it, so I get a lot of inspiration from them. I do pull a lot of the inspiration from the owner of E Tu. Now I'm saying it.
See?
The owner is very inspirational. She is always there to, if I can't think of something to do with a piece of tuna, for instance, she's got 50 ideas and we'll come up with one together. I do like to pull a lot of stuff, my inspiration from, not necessarily other people, but what other people think of what I should do, and then I'll take what their idea is and turn it into my own. If someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, I want halibut cheeks. I had it this way at this restaurant. Can you do it?" I'll usually tell them, "No, I'll get halibut cheeks and do it my way."
Right. Well, and that makes a lot more sense because ultimately it's your name on that plate. So why would you not? You certainly take inspiration, but
yeah,
ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be Chef Neumeister coming across.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Right on. Is there a dish or a concept or anything really that sticks out over your career as your greatest creation to date? And if so, what is it?
That's a good one. Well, I have to say it was my Mediterranean take on lamb osso buco. And that was actually quite recently at E Tu. We just had it on the menu. It was your traditional braised lamb shank, but what I did was while it was braising, I added in some spices that a lot of people would really think are out there for what they're expecting for osso buco. I throw in some cardamom, some cinnamon, coriander, things that really bring out the Mediterranean flavors and things. And then to top it all off, I threw a bunch of chickpeas in there.
Ooh!
And it was an amazing dish. It was actually described lamb osso buco. It was a braised Mediterranean lamb shank with a chickpea tomato saute, and it was definitely a big seller, and it was really good.
So where did that come to you from? Like how did you? Was it one of those late night 3 a.m. you sit bolt upright, have to go write it down, or?
I usually don't sit upright. I do have a pad and paper next to my bed though that I occasionally jot things down on at 2 a.m.
I goddamn it, I knew it. I knew it.
No, it came to me watching a gentleman. I can't remember his name now. He's has a cooking show. I believe his first name is Yotam or something like that. I can't quite remember. But I watched a thing on YouTube, a video of him going to Crete, and they were describing all the different spices and stuff. And then I happened to watch a video about braising lamb shanks, and I'm like, well, what if we did combine the two? So bring Mediterranean to a classical dish and see what happens. And it turned out to be a hit.
Yotam Ottolenghi, I believe.
That's him, yes.
Yes. Channel 4 more for Ottolenghi. I'm butchering the hell out of that, I'm sure. But because it's Crete. Yeah, the full episode's out on YouTube. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. That's awesome. But see, that's what's so amazing. You look at so many other arts, and Van Gogh was cutting his ear off to gain inspiration, and there's all this pain. The world is so fertile for a chef to just look at something and go, "Wait, I have an idea." And to hear that something that beautiful and that complex, osso buco is somewhat revered in that, leave it the hell alone, don't touch it, it's perfect the way it is.
Yeah.
And yet, to just see something and go, you know what I think would work, and then have it work real time, that's amazing. That is astounding. So lamb osso buco, lamb shank osso buco?
Yes, it was the shank. We had people who just tried it and said they don't like lamb anywhere else, and were literally quizzing my brain on how to do it so they could do it at home. And it was the best thing they ever had, and I never eat lamb. It was good.
Yeah, you should consider maybe teaching a class or something, Steve.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. So let's step back from the restaurant and from what it is specifically you do and look at trends, because food in general, unfortunately, in some ways, is all about trends and what's trendy and what's happening. What are people going out for? What do you feel, with your finger as much on the pulse of food as it is going to be the next big thing in food?
That's a good one.
Maybe it hasn't crested quite yet, but it's happening based on your obviously immense knowledge.
Well, if the world can get over this goddamn gluten trend, then we'll be good.
Now wait a minute. Now take a step back. Explain this goddamn gluten trend.
I would say it probably started right after I left Pittsburgh, the resort out there. Because, let me just say, it didn't happen to me out there. but I get so frustrated when someone tells me they have a gluten intolerance or they're gluten-free or whatever, and I take the time to sit there and prepare them a dish that is gluten-free, and then they're sitting there chomping on bread at the table.
They do not. Stop it.
Oh, they do. I've seen it multiple times, and I actually had I had someone one time request a gluten-free dish and then ask for a beer. There's no gluten.
Whoa. Now let's backtrack. I can't fault them for that. Let's be honest. But the bread thing, are you serious?
Oh, yeah. I watched it happen.
So how deep did you drive the 7-inch into them, or were they spared that evening?
They were spared only for the sake of my job. But
oh, my God.
It just seems that everywhere I look, whether it be social media, the internet, or talking to people, oh, gluten this, gluten that, gluten's bad for you. 90% of people don't even know what the hell gluten is.
Right.
And it just really drives me nuts that a doctor could go on Facebook and say, gluten's bad for you, stay away.
Well, Jenny McCarthy could tell you immunizations are bad for you, too, and you saw how that went. So just for the populace who might be tuning in, who might not have the firmest of grasp on what gluten truly is, it is the glue portion of wheat, essentially. That's an easy way to remember it, right?
Yeah, the protein in wheat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And obviously this has gotten carried away. You know, I think there's a certain element of truth to it. But if you're going in and you're saying, can I get a gluten-free dish, and you're chomping on bread, maybe you're the problem. Maybe. Just a reach. So are you saying that gluten-free in general is going to become even more of a thing?
No, not necessarily. I hope not. For the love of God, I hope not.
Cool.
No, I'm not sure what the next trend would be. I can't say I haven't been on the internet for a while, because that's a lie. But I don't know. I haven't really seen anything that's trending. I lied. I have seen a lot of molecular gastronomy stuff popping up in some of my friends' restaurants recently.
It's taken off again.
Yeah, and I'm not ashamed to admit I have a small molecular kit in my desk at work, but that's strictly for me to figure out what the hell I'm doing with it first before I put it on anybody's plate.
Right. Fair enough.
But yeah, I think it's a cool concept. I'd actually love to see it trend. And I kicked myself in the butt. I got an invite to go to Wiley Dufresne's restaurant, WD50?
WD50, correct.
Yeah, before they closed, and I didn't go, and now I kick myself in the ass every day.
Yeah, because that's the big thing. You know, he retired. He turned it in, 6 months ago? A little bit more than that?
Yeah, something like that. I think it was right before Thanksgiving of last year, maybe, actually.
Yeah, and since then, you've kind of seen it fizzle a little bit, but now, I don't know, maybe it gets another wind just without him backing it, or without Richard Blaze, maybe, I don't know. But,
yeah.
All right, cool. Is there anything popular right now outside of gluten-free, Steve? Focus with me, focus. Is there anything really popular right now that you just wish would go away and not come back?
You sure we can't use gluten?
No. You've already burned that one, sir.
Let's see. I wish just go away. People that come in a minute before closing time? Is that
well, that's not really a trend. That's being an asshole. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sorry, latecomers. I'm sorry. I'm picking on you.
Let's see. Well, I don't. I'm trying to think of some other trends that I can even think about.
Because one of the ones that always hooks me is the foam. It's not necessarily molecular in nature, but just foams on every plate.
Yeah. Oh. Actually, yes. Now I do know a good one.
See, I'm helping, Steve.
Something. I don't see it a lot in smaller towns, but I see it a lot in bigger cities. And I don't think I exactly know how to do it, and I don't think I want to learn to know how to do it.
Right.
But stuff that is scented.
Ah, yes.
if you're saying it's vanilla scented whipped cream or something, how do you give it that scent? I mean, I like to smell my food, but I don't affix a scent to a food.
Right. Is that along the lines of the glass domes over the food with the scented smoke that's in it?
Yes.
And yet it doesn't impart the flavor to it, like the Ras Al Hanout. I'm trying to think of other smokes that just, yeah. But I mean, that's great. I get that whiff. And then you mean to tell me the rest of the meal, it doesn't taste like that?
Yeah.
It feels somewhat dishonest.
Yeah, it's a little weird to me too, especially if they're using some funky kind of smoke. Like, I don't really want smoke on my plate.
Right, exactly. Not only that, I don't want it to be lingering on the table thereafter. It's got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah, I know when we in-house smoke things, I smell like smoke all day.
Right.
It just drives me nuts because then I feel like my palate's tainted all day. Mm. So I try to do that at the end of the day, right before I go home and shower, because that's all I can smell.
No, for sure.
It just drives me nuts.
All right, there you go. We led you to hate something. Good job.
Yeah.
So, what's next on Chef Neumeister's horizon? Obviously, you're digging where you're at. You know, if you sit in E Tu Bistro, 268 Mill Street in Danville, Pennsylvania, 570-284-4189, shameless plug. You know, if you sit in there and you eat the courses put in front of you, it is amazing. It is truly remarkable that we're in the area we're in and we're eating that well. So hats off to you. So your happiness is coming across on that plate, no question. But there has to be an evolution in store. Do you have a 5-year plan?
I actually have a 5, a 10, and a 20-year plan.
Well, let's hear about each one of them, buddy.
Well, it's not actually 5 years down the road here. It's actually going to probably turn into more either 3, maybe 2.5.
Okay.
My husband and I were probably going to move to New York City.
Okay.
More of the, not so much for me.
Mm-hmm.
My husband is very into special effects makeup, and he's really, really good.
All right.
So we're going to probably try that for a year, see if we can get his career off the ground, and try and keep my career afloat up there. I can't imagine it being hard. New York City, a chef, it should be pretty easy to find a job.
People don't like to eat out there at all.
Yeah. So that's technically our 5-year plan. 10 and 20 kind of go hand in hand. I would like to not necessarily own a place by myself per se, but I'd like to be like the executive chef owner of my own place, like a co-owner, if you will.
Okay.
And that's unfortunately not going to be in Danville, Pennsylvania either.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, that will. If I come back to Pennsylvania, I'd actually like to try and move that towards the Pittsburgh area. I'd like to go back out that way a little bit. Not in downtown Pittsburgh. That's a little too much for me.
Right.
But somewhere nice, a small town, but a little bit bigger than Danville.
Sure. And that's probably not hard to do, Steve. I'm going to be honest. That's awesome. That's really awesome. You say that your husband does special effects. Does he have a site or anything that we should be checking out?
He does have an Instagram. Let me take a quick look here, and I can give you the site. I actually just became Instagram savvy, so I'm still learning it.
I'm resisting. I'm a terrible person, I'm sure, but I'm still holding out. But I might have to join based on this. Yeah,
I'm really not tech savvy. It took me a couple of years. I've had this phone for maybe 3 years now. It's my first smartphone. So.
Nice.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Instagram. It would be Alex_12092012. I totally just realized that's our anniversary.
Oh, check that out! Oh my god, it's cute. So if you're looking to check out some cool ass special effects, Instagram Alex_12092012. You see that? That's so sweet. I can barely handle it. So, the 3-year plan, the 10-year plan, man, I mean, you've definitely got it mapped out. So, I mean, I and everybody else in the area, dining-wise, I'm certain will be very sad to see you go, but obviously, I hope everything works out along that path for you. That'd be awesome.
The few people we have told, they're very upset about it.
Yeah. Well, as I'm sure you're well aware, coming from Mount Carmel, the options for elevated cuisine in the area are not as many as I think many of us would like. We've got Seasons on Main in bloom. We've got the Blind Pig on Iron Street. We've got you folks out on Mill Street at E Tu Bistro. We've got your sister restaurant, Elizabeth's, at 412 Market Street in Lewisburg, correct?
Yep.
So, I think anytime a chef or cook, for that matter, of your caliber, takes it to the next level, which no one can really blame you, it's definitely a hit to those of us who appreciate it. So, but we begrudgingly wish you well. Note the begrudging factor there, Steve.
Yeah.
Very begrudgingly. So, all right. So that's where you're at, and that's where you're going. Let's take it to the afters. Let's get a little weird here. I'm standing in your kitchen, and you can pick if it's professionally or at home. What music do I hear?
Oh boy. Well, probably depends on my mood.
Okay.
as with a lot of people. If I'm looking to do something really quick and need a really big upbeat, I unfortunately turn on Today's Hits radio on Pandora because it's all just a bunch of loud noise and keeps me going.
Today's Hits, loud noise. I'll actually agree with that. That's not that... That's solid.
Yeah. Now, if I'm trying to concentrate, I wouldn't say necessarily classical music, but I do enjoy a lot of softer piano music. A Great Big World is one of my favorite artist groups, I should say. There's two of them. And I have a lot of their CDs, and they're really great. But it varies. I mean, I used to be a DJ.
Really?
Yeah. In Pittsburgh for a little while, and then when I moved back to this area, I actually DJ'd down in Selinsgrove at the skating rink on adult night.
Oh, Sunset.
Sunset, yeah.
No shit.
So I did a lot of 70s and 80s music, and I really do enjoy the 80s. That I feel like I was born in the wrong generation.
Right on.
That's not necessarily hairband music, but a lot of classic rock.
Right. No, I'm with you. How's your mouth in the kitchen?
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so based on bad, I don't have to ask you the movie rating question, on up through R and NC-17. I'll just cut right to the chase. What is your go-to? When something's, when you're in the shit, when you're in the weeds, what is your go-to? Or, and I'll give you this option out, is there a favorite name to call somebody who is just bringing the ship down?
My favorite word to call people is a twat. Yes, that definitely. I've been known to say that to a few people. But for my favorite word, I'm gonna have to go with the classic fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, it is the Swiss Army knife of curse words.
You can add whatever tense you need onto it, and it usually works.
Yes, I would wholeheartedly agree. I was interviewed by my wife for episode 20, and she asked me that question. I said, well, are the 3 kids anywhere near me at that point? She's like, yes. And I said, oh, well, nothing. Gosh darn it. And she asked me, I'm like, fuck. Yeah, you can absolutely mutate that into anything you need it to be. And combine that with the other one, I mean, you're golden, man. You can just bring somebody down.
Yeah. Have to try and keep count one day, and I'll let you know what the count gets up to.
Right, and you guys have an open kitchen back there at F2, don't you?
Yes, we do. So it's usually a really, really quiet fuck.
So what's the scar tissue like in the cheek when you're biting your own cheek or biting through your own tongue? Try not to. Nice.
Yeah, we do have the open kitchen, but we have my nice little cubby hole of an office is kind of enclosed between a wall and the walk-in, so it's nice and quiet back there.
Well, and I was going to say you have the walk-in too, so let's be honest. Isn't that scream therapy when you can go in there?
Absolutely. That's scream therapy and cry therapy too. When people start to break down, you don't do it on my line. Go to the walk-in and
That's
cry.
right. That's right. You got, people don't believe that. I have to tell you, I worked on a line for just like 2 months, a very short stint. People don't believe that about the walk-in, but so help me God, in my 2 months, I went in there. I don't know, 2-3 times a week, just
It's a
to
good
like,
place to recoup.
yeah, just to let it out, just for a moment, and then go back out, do your shit, get to the end, drive home, drink it off, and go back in the next day.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So the walk-in, it's cheaper than therapy. So, Chef, you're going to be stranded on a deserted island. I forgot to tell you this.
Oh, great.
And you're only allowed to take 3 foods or food type items with you. What would they be and why?
Are we counting beverages as food?
Absolutely.
Well, then whiskey is definitely one of them.
Beautiful. What kind? You cannot get away with just whiskey.
No, pretty simple. Jack Daniels is my go-to thing.
Spoken like a true coal regioner, right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I can't get away from it. I actually had the honor of touring the distillery a couple years ago. Oh, it was amazing.
Still a dry county, though, correct?
It is, yes. And I sit here in my office also looking at the empty bottle of Gentleman Jack I bought there. I didn't buy the Gentleman Jack. I bought a commemorative bottle. So they say.
I gotcha.
That's how they get away with it. But it definitely whiskey. Let's see. What else? Well, beef is probably one of my favorite proteins, so I'm taking the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take a filet.
Okay.
And carrots. I really like carrots, and they're pretty good for you, so there's your 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can at least keep your vision as you die of whatever shit. You know, my wife actually gave me shit for my answer. I said bourbon, beer, and beef. She's like, she's like, oh my God, you're gonna die of colon cancer. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm on an island. What do I care? And look at you coming out with carrots because you're healthy. All right, Steve, I'm about done with you here. What is, if there is one, maybe may not be, is there a food or a dish that still intimidates you, that scares you? You mentioned you learned baking from your grandmother, but you're not a baker. You know, is it in that wheelhouse, or is there something else?
Well, I can bake. It's more of a choice not to. I don't get as any enjoyment out of it, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I do some of the baking at the restaurant. The owner does most of our baking, but I do tend to dabble in easy things like creme brulees and fruit crisps, the occasional gluten-free chocolate cake, just to appease some people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I can say that does intimidate me is foie gras. And I don't know about it. We had some at the restaurant last year for New Year's Eve, and I thought it was a great thing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this. I've worked with it a few times, and I was just not happy with anything I could do with it.
Do you think that's because of the price tag on it, or just the actual...
No, I wouldn't say the price tag. It was fucking expensive, that's for sure.
Yeah, of course.
And I've never actually... It was the first time I ever had food flown to me and hand-delivered. It was pretty cool.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't what I expected or had remembered doing with it. It wouldn't sear properly, and then I didn't like the way I had plated it, and it just didn't want to cooperate with me, so it definitely intimidates me, and I probably won't work with it unless I get a lot more experience with it.
Oh, shit. Well, and there's no way to get more experience with it until you work with it.
Yeah, but I wish it wasn't so pricey to work with.
I might have to drop a lobe or 2 off there at the restaurant for you. A little red bow on it for you. So, have you had a chance to read any of Melanie Denea's works?
I have not.
My Last Supper and The Next Course. So the books are very coffee table style, and it's where the inspiration for the podcast came from. And long story short, each book is 50 famous chefs ask the very same question. You're going to die tomorrow. What is your last meal? Who would be there? What would you drink? What music would be playing? So I ask you, Chef Steve, What would your last supper be?
Well, I think I'm going to have to go with comfort food on this one. I'm going to have to go with pot pie.
Okay, now wait, because my wife will listen to this. What are you referring to when you say pot pie?
Well, the kind that I'm referring to for my last dinner is the kind that's actually in a pie dish.
Oh, shit. Oh, no, I'm sleeping on the couch. Thanks, Steve.
Now, I do enjoy both, but that one's just more, it's, you got the crispy crust and everything on the inside is just usually piping hot, and it's perfect.
You know the rivalry I'm talking about then.
Oh, yeah.
All right, fair enough. So pot pie, what kind of pot pie, sir?
Chicken.
Chicken, of course.
Yeah.
What else?
Let's see. Well, the drink is actually going to go back to whiskey again. Actually, we're going to go for Jack and Coke. It's actually my usual choice when I'm not drinking it on the rocks.
You are straight out of Mark Carmel, aren't you?
Yeah.
Nice.
There's no escaping it. It always seems to find me somehow. A good loaf of bread.
Yeah. A
really good loaf of bread. That would be definitely on the menu. And some of the best bread I've had is actually at E Tu. Really good bread.
Nice. And he's not just saying that because he's leaving in 3 years, so don't worry about that.
No, definitely not. Yeah. They're both kind of heavy foods, so maybe we'd have a salad too.
Oh, why? You're checking out tomorrow. Cut the salad shit.
Good point.
Very well done, sir. Very well done.
I have a cake.
Yes, of course. What kind?
Chocolate. Lots and lots of chocolate.
Beautiful.
Preferably dark chocolate. I like dark chocolate.
Beautiful. Beautiful. How about who would be there?
Well, my husband for sure, because he'd be probably cooking the food for me since I'm not going to be around tomorrow. He's got to learn sometime.
Nice.
Well, my family, definitely. My parents, because I could honestly say I don't know how long I'll see them around anymore.
Right.
They're actually moving very far south, so I may not get many more dinners with them. So they'll be there, and if I could bring someone back from the past,
of course,
Julia Child would be there.
Yes, yes. I just started my kids watching the old black and whites from what I assume to be the early 60s. On WVI Create. They're amazing. They hold.
Yes.
Oh my God, hands down, you and I are cut from the same cloth there. She is definitely on my, bring back list.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She was, I had a dinner party after I recently got married this past year, and we had some friends over, and I made beef bourguignon for the first time ever. And I must have watched Julia's rendition of it online probably a dozen times until I got it right.
Beautiful.
And it came out amazing.
Beautiful. You can't say that name without wanting to imitate her.
Oh yeah, I haven't stopped myself.
It's right there. It's waiting for you. It's easy. It's the slow pitch. Oh man, that sounds absolutely exquisite, front to back. Finally. Last question. Simplest, but the hardest. What is food to you in a single word?
Life. Food is my life. I can't go a day without it physically. You need to eat, and it's my career, so I see it every day. So it's definitely, life is a good word for that.
Yeah.
I will be a chef until I die. There's no getting out of it. I'm committed, paid lots and lots of money to learn it, so I'm in it for the long haul.
Nice. You don't find that passion in
nearly any very other field. Hard
like IT, whatever. People are like, I was thinking I could go back. When you cross that line, and I mean, you're episode 29, so I've talked to some people. Let's be fair. There is such a passion. There is such an absolute undying dedication to it. And I think you have to be. I think it's along the lines of teaching or like a calling. I don't think you can half-ass being being a successful chef.
No, because you won't make it.
No.
You have to have, your heart has to be in it. You have to be passionate about what you do, and you have to be willing to put in the time. I mean, there's days I work 16-hour days. I'd come home, drink it off,
right,
and
drink it
go
off.
Go back in 4 hours and do it again.
You can totally borrow that phrase from me. I give you full license for that. Drink it off. Drink it off. It's like walk it off, but it's more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I was going to ask you, when was the last time you worked an 8-hour day?
Oh my God.
Exactly. Exactly. Leave it there. Leave it at, oh my God, because it doesn't happen. I mean, and again, not to harp on this, not to beat it into the ground, but I truly mean it. I don't bullshit about food. I bullshit about a lot of things. I don't bullshit about food. When I walked in there, it was actually, was there a pork belly appetizer on your menu?
No, I actually remember this because you told me how much you enjoyed it. It was a stuffed calamari.
I'm sorry, that's what it was. Yes, it was stuffed, and it was a completely different texture than I had ever had before in my life. And remind me, what was it stuffed with? It
was stuffed with Spanish chorizo, mirepoix, the Spanish chorizo, and then that was pretty much it. Maybe obviously a little salt and pepper. I don't think there were any other spices other than the paprika that comes from the chorizo.
Yeah.
And then it was just stuffed inside the tentacle of the calamari. It gets rubbed with a little bit of honey, just so you can get some nice grill marks on it. You grill it. I believe it came on a bed of dressed arugula with some balsamic reduction, and that was it.
I can't tell you what I did at my job last week, Steve. You're telling me that shit about 2 months ago. But I mean, honestly, I bit through that, and it hit on all centers. And I looked, because I was drinking a Peroni too, which is nice and clean, and it just cleared it perfectly. I looked at my wife, and I said, before we leave here, I'm going back there, and I'm talking to him, and I'm getting him on the show. And I need to have him here because you taste that. You can't half-ass that. You can't 8-hour day that. You are 16-hour day, and you are in it for life. And honest to God, without kissing your ass or over pumping it up or anything, I mean, your dedication to the craft is clear as day, man. Clear as day.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I like to think so too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. And with that, sir, that brings us to the end of the interview. Places I can plug up for you. We have E Tu Bistro, 268 Mill Street in Danville, Pennsylvania. 570-284-4189. We have your sister establishment, Elizabeth's, in Lewisburg, 412 Market Street. 570-523-8088. One more plug for the husband, Alex_120-92012 on Instagram, Special Effects Makeup. Check it out. If you're listening, you like that kind of thing, go nuts. And anything else I can plug for you, bud?
I don't think so. Just come visit me at E Tu. We're open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 o'clock until the last person comes in.
Awesome. And hopefully that's not 1 minute before you're closing. Don't be a dick. Just
let's hope not.
Exactly. Reservations are strongly suggested with that too.
Yes.
Again, located at 268 Mill Street in Danville, Pennsylvania. 570-284-4189. They are located on the web at etubistro.com, etubistro.com. And again, man, I can't thank you enough. This has been great.
Yes, it's been a pleasure.
All right, man. Thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 29 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. My producer this evening has been the Reverend Johnny Lamoria, a.k.a. Johnny Leland Robinson. Be sure to check out his podcast, Cinematic Pig's Feet. Next time is going to be episode 30, and I assure you, you are not going to want to miss this one. It's going to be big. Stay tuned.